Cover card bill due? What the hell's that?
Mine's not due till the 5th.
I have no idea why that's even on my calendar. You know that Google form we sent out, we've got 39 people coming Saturday. There's a lot of people that are not staffing.
Where is it? Here.
I saw it every time. It's the same thing you always say.
Yeah. I like to be involved.
Hi, Sherry.
That's all I have to say.
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Have a good day?
Not bad.
Yeah.
For Monday.
Yeah, for real.
I hear you. Carl. Is this to me? I should double check my name. Okay. Sit down. Go ahead.
Hi, Christy.
Hello. Are you feeling better?
I'm here.
All right. Oh, hey, what are you doing? No, it's good to be Yeah, that was the agenda. It's crowd tonight. That's awesome.
apple time. Everybody got quiet.
59 apple time.
I got 1 minute.
Yeah, we stay on that.
It's 5:59.
Yeah. You're almost here. Well, 6 o'clock Apple time. We're going to call our meeting to order. Welcome to the August 13th regular school board meeting of Seaman School District. Let's all stand and ask Mr. Griffin if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I think we're in for an exciting meeting tonight. It's always exciting when our students come to see us, and people aren't quite as boring then as the rest of us old folks. Item on our agenda we have under the category of learning without limits. And that is something that we are trying to do at Seaman School District, is provide opportunities for our students to learn and kind of explore outside of what may be considered the norm. So the first thing we're going to learn about tonight is our Seaman Middle School Space Camp. And I'm going to call on Mr. Jackson, if he would come and introduce his students and tell us about the exciting space camp.
All right, so I'm Rob Jackson. I teach 8th grade, and this is Natalie and Emily. They're two members of my robotics club. So I was contacted last spring by Miss Diedrich, Northrop Grumman. We have a representative from them, Gary Brown, who's here today. They offered to sponsor a trip down to Huntsville, Alabama to go to space camp. And so when Miss Diedrich asked if I would be interested in filling out their paperwork and escorting two students down there, I was very stoked. And these two students just popped in mind instantly because of how interested they are in science, technology, and robotics. So it was an awesome opportunity both for them and I as well, and I'm very thankful to Northrop Grumman because not only have they sponsored this space camp program, they've also been very generous towards the middle school robotics club and the high school robotics club as well. So I'd just like to give a big thank you to them. And I would like the ladies just to share kind of what their favorite thing from space camp was, what the general day activity was. We spent from Saturday evening through Friday afternoon there, so a full week. So Natalie, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part was probably the simulators that we got to do. There was two simulators that I liked a lot, which one was the 1/6 gravity simulator, which is where we got to experience what it would feel like to be on the moon. So that was really fun. And we also did the multi-axis gravity chair, which spun us around. We got strapped into the chair and it spun us all around in different directions. And it didn't make us dizzy because we never went in the same direction twice. So we always went in a different direction. And we didn't get our stomach as a center of gravity. So it was really cool when we got that.
My favorite thing is probably the missions that we do. We have two missions. Each mission we were assigned different roles. The first mission, I was the flight director. The second one, I got to do the EVAs. So basically what we had to do is, we like the first one, we had to successfully launch and land the shuttle on the moon and then bring it back to Earth. And so we had like these scripts that we read off of, and we had to make sure that we did it, that we made sure we said everything each time. And like I got to do the countdown when the rocket launched with those counters. And yeah.
Awesome.
So this camp involved both a camp for the students as well as an educator camp that I attended. So for the educators, we kind of walked through a bunch of different labs that I can use in my classroom, and I left there with several different engineering challenges and probably 5 or 6 different labs that I planned on using. One of them I already got to use this summer at the Lawrence Arts Center for my teaching job. Like I just got back and immediately turned around and said, okay, I'm going to use this lesson. It was really awesome and it was great for kids. So I'm excited to actually see the implementation that I get to do throughout the year. It's a very amazing week and something I'll never forget, and I hope these two don't as well. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for these students, for Emily and Natalie?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Halloween is going to be a fun time.
Did you watch the movie Space Camp before you went? Have you ever watched that movie? Oh, that came out when I was in elementary school, and I so wanted to go to Space Camp.
No, I did too.
So you're like the coolest people I know now.
It's hard to find now.
Is it?
Yeah, I tried to before I left. I managed, someone told me where I could find it while I was there. That's some esoteric website.
Yeah.
Not on Netflix, Hulu, you can't rent it very easily. It's on VHS.
That long
It
ago.
was that long ago.
Yeah. It was that long ago. 2 years ago. Anyone else have questions for Natalie and Emily?
So what's the acronym EVA stand for? I'm not very acronym savvy, so.
I think it's extravehicular activity.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is where the astronauts get to go out into space. They get to leave their capsule,
Cool.
go into space. Sometimes, well, they used to be attached to the capsule by a cord that provided them oxygen in their suit.
It's similar to what you did before our photo,
Oh,
right?
yeah, exactly. Okay. Very good, Keith. That was good.
Yeah, so Natalie has a good picture for doing an EVA simulation where she's fully in the spacesuit and she's being suspended while she's fixing some solar panels.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Cool.
Okay, we're going to get some pictures, and we have some certificates. So if you ladies will come over here to the middle.
Right about there where Fred and I could photobomb you.
And it would be great if this opportunity comes our way again. Mr. Jackson, thank you for your leadership.
It'd be great if you said board members.
Well, this is presented to Natalie Sheeheim Holmes, say it pronounce it?
Homeless.
Holmes, okay. This certificate is proudly presented for honorable achievement awarded this day of August 13, 2018. So what did you got up here? And certificate of achievement proudly presented for honorable achievement to Emily Harmon, awarded this day of August 13.
Could we do maybe a group picture with
Sure.
Mr. Jackson and Mr. Brown?
That's great.
Come on up.
Thank you. Let's appreciate them one more.
Thank you so much.
Emily, thank you. Guys, make us proud. Well, that was fun. Now we have another group, and this is our Seaman Middle School FCC LA National competitors. And if we could have Chelsea Heitman and Taryn Shoemaker come and present this to us.
All right, my name is Chelsea Heitman, and I'm one of the counselors at the middle school.
And I'm Taryn Shoemaker, and I'm the 8th grade Family Consumer Science teacher.
And we're the sponsors for Family Career Data Leaders America at Seaman Middle School. And we were very fortunate this year and got to take 9 students to National Convention in Atlanta, Georgia. To start off with, I'm just going to throw some numbers at you. So we were very, very fortunate this year and had 24 students compete at districts. And out of those 24 students, 19 of them got to go on to state to compete at the state level in Wichita. We were very appreciative that Mrs. Diedrich came along and was one of our sponsors, because when you have that many children on a 2-night overnight stay, we wanted all the help we could get for adult supervision and support. And then out of those 19, we had 10 students qualify for national competition, and 9 ended up going to Georgia this summer. So we're incredibly proud of them and their efforts. And we appreciate all the support and financial support that you guys provide for us throughout the school year, because literally without your guys' assistance, we would not be able to do this. This is not a financially cheap thing to swing, so we appreciate it. So let me get someone to turn this. Oh, click it? Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Okay.
And then just turn it on.
Terry, do they need to be in the mic? Would that help, or are they okay? No, they're fine. Okay, thanks.
So the conference was held June 28th to July 2nd at CNN Center. One random bizarre thing that I wasn't anticipating. The very first day when we got there, we went to the food court at CNN Center to grab a late lunch. And there, it was a huge, like, imagine a huge mall food court, and there was probably 15 police officers there at the food court. We're like, this is kind of weird. But then we realized the importance and significance of being at CNN Studios and what all that may entail. And so that was really cool for our kids just to see and to be, like, literally at the place where this is created. So there are our students at the opening ceremony. Some of the things that we got to do in our downtime when they weren't competing or attending leadership conferences, we got to go to the Martin Luther Center for Nonviolence and Social Change, which was amazing for our students to see, an amazing once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We got to go to the Georgia Aquarium, which was phenomenal. If you've never been there, I strongly recommend it. And then we got to walk around the Olympic Park and go to the Atlantic Sky View, which is the large Ferris wheel there in the background. So some really cool things to Atlanta, which was a great fun trip for us. So next I'm going to have the students come up and very briefly give you a synopsis of what their projects were. And while they're coming up, I'm going to explain a little bit about what STAR events are and how they relate to the Shoemakers class. So guys, if you want to start making your way up. So STAR event stands for Students Taking Action for Recognition. And there's between 20 and 30 different projects that students can sign up to do. The cool thing about STAR events, and I was thinking today during our opening session when we were at the high school today, was we talked about personalized learning opportunities.
I'm going to leave it by myself.
Today at opening session, we kept talking about personalized learning opportunities. And so each of these students got to sign up for whichever project they wanted to do. It gives an overarching theme, and then within that theme, they could totally select what their project is. They do research, they create a project, they implement their project, and then they collect data to support or refute their project. So not only is this a personalized learning opportunity for these students, it's a civic learning at its finest. Because every single one of these projects makes a difference either in our school, our community, or their family units. So Amberly, why don't you talk a little bit about your project and what you did?
Okay, so my project was called Children Against Child Abuse. So my category was advocacy, so I did a 61-slide presentation along with a 10-minute-old presentation. And throughout that whole project, I basically showed the need for a child abuse and neglect awareness/education program in the district, because right now we have, what are they called? Connect with Kids. We have those, but there's none on child abuse or any of that. So I basically showed like what the lack of it is in the district, and then like how to fix it or things we could do to the program.
So my name is Mason McConaughey, and my name is Daniel, and our category was 14. So our presentation was called Hustle, I Can Get. And basically
reached out to her when we were trying to find our nutritional tracker, and she was amazing help for us. So shout out to Mrs. Stevens.
I'm Tatum Crow, I'm one student, and our project was chapter movie portfolio. So basically what our project was, it was a digital scrapbook of what everybody else did as a project, and we did an overall presentation on what our chapter did to inspire people in our community and our school. What we did was we interviewed each group and we had them give us a summary of their project, and then we put it into slides, and we had a total of 49. Hi, I'm Emma Schultz. I'm an excerpt from my family knowledge.
And I'm going to pause you for just a second. So the students prior to this last group, they all received silver at nationals, which is amazing, and we're super proud of their efforts. This last group of young ladies did something that was pretty remarkable, and we weren't necessarily I don't think any of us were necessarily expecting this. So I'll let them kind of talk about what they did and how cool it is.
So we received the gold and recognition. So we decided to do a chapter service project display. And what that is you choose whatever you want, and you bring like donations or money or whatever you want to go and help what you chose to do our topic on. And we raised money for hurricane relief in Puerto Rico in our school and community. We went to events like the Art Walk, and we did a fundraising challenge at our school, and in total we raised $908 for hurricane relief in Puerto Rico. And we were partnered with the Red Cross and the Red Cross program.
So out of all the schools, out of all 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders across the nation, this group got 9th place overall. So they were all pretty excited for their efforts and how it ended up going. So again, lastly, we just want to, again, thank you for your support. We are incredibly grateful and indebted to you. And we hope that FCCLA continues to grow in our district. The high school also has some pretty incredible things going on this year. Our district president is Mr. Kaden Fox, who is a sophomore in our high school, who is one of our former students. And Ms. Kylie Cause is actually a state officer. So Seaman schools are well represented in FCCLA. So thank you.
Let's appreciate that. Don't run away. Folks, this is pretty exciting stuff. Awesome. So, proud to present certificate achievement to Amberly Sadler. Congratulations. Mason McConaughey, right? Congratulations. Gavin, welcome. Congratulations. Tatum Crow. You got one out of order. Lauren. All right. Sierra. She's not here. Okay. Renee. All right. Congratulations.
is a futurist speaker on the future of education. And her book, Martians in Our Classroom, in our classrooms, is really a take on the fact that there literally likely is children today in our classrooms that will be on Mars before they die. That colonization of Mars is not some pipe dream out there that's not tangible, but NASA and other private entities are working on colonizing Mars and landing as soon as 13 years from now. And so it's those children are in our classrooms. So it's remarkable to think. And so the 5 points that she talked about with us as educators were these: how do we prepare our kids for that type of a world that we can't hardly even comprehend? And there's 5 things we need to be mindful of in her research and her travels. 1, we need to have industry partners, because industry will tell us what they need. And so it's important to remember our industry partners in education. Number 2, she talked about frustrated learning opportunities for our kids. We must frustrate them from time to time, that it can't be always easy to achieve. We need to teach them the value of frustration. Number 3, be connected globally. So she highlighted the fact that we're a one-to-one district. This board made that initiative happen a few years ago. And she says you're way ahead of the game in many public schools in our nation. They have the world at their fingertips. Now keep them globally connected to see what's out there. And then number 4, encourage exploration with our learning. So our teachers and our kids are constantly exploring for new content, new ways of teaching, new ways of learning as to what's out there. And then lastly, which I thought was very timely and something we all needed to hear after a very frankly scientific and objective and sort of, even though it was dreamy in certain parts, she brought it all back to the final point. Teach compassion and be compassionate. Because even in this whole future technology and science and robotics and artificial intelligence and all that, it still comes back to the fact that we're all humans and part of this human race. We need to be compassionate towards each other and teach compassion in the classroom. So I thought those were 5 wonderful points to take away from us, what I took away from it. And I'm just very excited about the direction that we're headed. We had a great start to the school year. Any questions for me? Thank you, Board, for being here this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Noble. And thank you to our teaching and learning team. They did a fabulous job and had a lot of fun at it and a lot of good content. And it was just really cool. And it was good having all the board members there this morning. I know all you have things you can do that are busy and work and all of that, but it was good to have everybody there. I think it made a good statement to our teaching staff when they see all the board members come out at the beginning of the school year and say, we support you, we're behind you. So appreciate that. Okay, next item on our agenda is public communications, and this is the time for members of the audience to speak regarding items that are not on the agenda. So if you are going to speak about the Rochester project, that is a little bit further down in the agenda. Do we have anybody that wish to speak about any other items that are on the agenda today? Okay, seeing none. Ready for the adoption of our agenda tonight? Dr. Noble, what changes do you have?
Thank you, sir. Candace, we have one change. Candace, make the note of where it was and where it's going.
We have 2. We have the addition of the KSDE 2018-19 Kansas Preschool Pilot Grant in the amount of $160,420 into the consent agenda under grants 7E. And also to move the 2019-21 Neighborhood Revitalization Plan from an action item to a discussion item and item 8K.
Okay, very good. Directors, any other changes? Board members? Okay. Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Sherry, seconded by Fred. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The agenda is adopted. Next item is our disposition of business by consent.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion by James to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Carl. Any discussion items?
Are we sure we want our reporter to be able to resign?
I know, yeah. Can't do both.
Well, if we could twist her arm.
Believe me, I'm going to miss what I was doing.
But she seemed kind of like she was pretty excited to do this part of it. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item are discussion items. First is the Rochester School discussion. We will now hear considerations from the public regarding the Rochester Elementary School. We've talked about this for several months, and we know that it's been part of our plan to where we are no longer utilizing the school, and we want to be able to hear from the public. You're here to speak about Rochester. Asks you to come forward, come to the mic, give your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes for your comments. Anyone like to speak about Rochester? Okay. Well,
Mr. President, and
yes.
I allowed to speak about Rochester?
You may.
Okay. I just have thought about this and talked to a lot of people in the district, and obviously Rochester has a very special place in all of our hearts. But as we look at what we're going to do with Rochester, I just really think it's important for us to consider whatever we do, how it fits into the mission of the district. So, I mean, our mission isn't to be a museum, and our mission isn't to be a parks and recreation department. Our mission is truly to educate the future leaders. And so I just hope as we approach this that we'll look at this in a logical way and keep that mission front and center.
Thank you. Any other comments, board?
Can I comment first?
Yes, you may, sir.
Well, I'm here.
You might give your name and address.
Okay,
for the
Paul
record.
Crawford, 2610 Northwest 62nd Street, but I also own 3410 Northwest Rochester Road. Quite frankly, I do not want another summer school. I do not want to watch my property values plummet because of a derelict building across the street. I will say this, there's not been the vandalism and the problems there since the building is closed as bad as it was when it was open. My son was calling the sheriff's department 1 and 2 times a week when it was still open. So, but that's my feelings. I just hate to see, you know, the neighborhood's kind of building up, we're getting some new buildings. I just really hate to see it run down because of the school. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments?
I would echo what Christy said. The feedback I got from patrons, you know, I'm a K-6 Rochester guy. I love that school, but a lot of the feedback I got was exactly what Christy's talking about, which is it just doesn't fit within the mission. People are super creative. Wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Yeah, it would be cool if we did that, but that's not what we're in the business of. So I totally echo that. If it can fit with what we're all about, great. If not, I don't know what we do with it, frankly, other than bring it down. Because I'm the same way. I don't want to see that building become something it shouldn't be in that. And all those neighborhoods and communities and houses and people and all that negatively impacted by something that just sits there and rots. I'm not interested in that either. So. But I did have a great discussion with some patrons, and they were all in favor of what our plans might become if they were in the benefit of what serves students. And that's hard to do when you don't have students there. So, anyway, clever, creative people out there, but they don't really fit what that building's future of that space should be for. Or like Christy said, we're not Parks and Rec. We're just not. Anyway.
All right, thank you.
2 cents.
Very good. Any other comments? Dr. Novak, anything?
I just have one. Hearing a little bit tonight, you know, we have discussed this with directors. We were waiting to see what feedback we might have, what the board's discussion was tonight. But what if we came back in a month or two, depending on how quickly we can get something together with a plan with a couple of options. One, a demolition plan, and then what that space might look like as a possible educational opportunity for our kids, and see if it fits the mission, if the board likes that. And then number two, just a demo plan and a plan maybe to sell the property as a place for a potential investor to purchase it. Maybe a couple of options for the board to consider. Is that something that might be interesting, at least to see those numbers, what it might look like?
Sure.
Okay.
Could it be a possible site for habitat?
Habitat
Take a lot of
for
field dirt, which we had at one time, but.
Where we would put homes that we build,
Mm-hmm.
potentially?
That may be a viable option. That's
Could
certainly
be.
worth exploring.
Be a zoning change.
Yeah.
Yes, Carl.
I got to echo James and Christie's thoughts too. I've had discussion with, because I've had family that went to school there, even back when it was only just the original school building. And this is a tough decision for this board, because I don't believe that we've ever torn down a school building, ever. But I think back and look back on some things that have happened from the past, and we look at some of the old buildings like Capitol View, well, it became a 1 and 2 family dwelling. And we're sitting on Indian Creek that's, it's probably a little bit better building, but it's really not that much better, and it's not being occupied other than just for storage. We've got lucky with Pleasant Hill, with being able to reuse that, and, with the storm damage, that made it viable for us to make it usable again. And that's where I went to school, that's where my dad went to school, so that kind of had a place in my heart too, but I was also prepared, and so were our families, like, maybe that building needs to go away. And I'm kind of that way with Rochester. Because some of the comments that I have, even talking with families, like, well, if you guys aren't going to use it, you might just want to get rid of it. And I hate to do that, but I think this is one of those decisions this board's going to have to do and move forward with it. And I think Paul may have a great idea for that we can put it back on the tax rolls in some respect that way too.
I tried to interest Highland Community College. They sold their building in Holt, but they said too many conflicts with Washington.
Yeah, it's a territorial thing.
Yeah. They were initially interested, and then they called me back and said they just couldn't pull it off.
Well, I think that's with anything that we do in the realm of our decisions with education, which is we don't rest on nostalgia to make those decisions.
And I do agree that this board had a very difficult decision as to the outcome of that building. Although I would also caution against letting go of ground that this district owns now, because we don't know what the district needs are going to be in 20 years. And that's a prime piece of ground in a very nice neighborhood. Although I do agree with Ms. Effelhans and Mr. Adams that, we are not in the Park and Recreation Department. But the neighborhood around there has come to enjoy, embrace, and utilize that tract for their recreational purposes. And in my thinking, that is something that we do owe our community. I would hesitate to take away their tract for park. The building, I think is a tough decision. And I would caution just, I never thought of Paul's idea. I think it was a great idea. Just to sell it to somebody to turn into the next summer school, or anything else, I'm not a fan of that either, because our name is still attached to it.
Well, thank you for your comments, and I agree. This is a difficult decision. It's a tough decision. We were fortunate to be able to utilize some of the other buildings that we were no longer using. We sold East Indianola, and that was one of the first ones since I've been on the board that we were able to move. And what I hear, pretty consistent, no one wants an abandoned building just sitting there rotting. And not providing any benefit to the neighborhood. But I like the idea of being able to explore some options and bring it back before this board within maybe a month or two and be able to make a decision on that. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you, Paul, you as well. Okay. Teaching and learning report, Ms. Kramer, Ms. Fernando Flores, and Ms. Nussbaum. Our rock stars from this morning.
Good evening. This is Dania Fernandez Flores, Director of Secondary Education. This last month, we've been working really hard at preparing to do the onboarding for new staff, and my colleagues will be presenting on that. With respect to secondary in particular, my report has a very robust description of our driver's education program. We have 101 students who successfully completed the program, and so we've got 101 novice drivers. Now, I suggest we continue executing on, what's it called again? Defensive driving. So we're very proud of our program and the facilities at the high school that allow for exceptional educators like Mr. Tinsley and Mr. Horton to pass on their driving knowledge onto the next generation. Thank you.
Nice, well done. See what you did there. And may I add,
She's
thank
gonna
you.
come want money tomorrow, I'll just tell you right now.
All right.
She'll be on my doorstep at 8 o'clock.
My daughter is one of those that benefited from the program, so thank
Well,
you.
and coming from a field of child injury prevention, and when we talk about teen drivers and getting that experience, the hours of experience is so integral into reducing those numbers of crashes, and that's exactly what we want to do, save those kids and their families from injuries and deaths. So I applaud the district for, because so many districts are cutting back on their driver's education program. So I appreciate the fact that that is remaining a priority within our district.
All right, on the elementary front, just a brief summary of summer school at all the sites. A total of 324 students were served in the 2-week period. We had employed 61 total staff members and paraprofessionals. One of the highlights from the schools were definitely they felt like there was good attendance, that the staff was very positive, that almost all staff agreed to do it again next year. One of the best things, the partnership with Boys and Girls Club, they helped transport students who were in the Boys and Girls Club program over to the sites for their jump start, so we were able to meet that need, and then they transported them back, which was a huge relief for a lot of our families when there was that conflict between the two programs. So we applaud Boys and Girls Club for helping us to do that. Overall, I think everybody said that the kids did a good job, focused on math and reading at all sites. They primarily worked on previous year skills the first month or the first week, and then the second week they started to do the jump start kickoff activities so the kids would be prepared when school starts. So overall, we got good feedback. We'll be looking at data from end of year and to the beginning of the year, but we don't have that data yet, so I'll share that out later. Also, just wanted to highlight on the new staff training. That went really well on Thursday. We worked really hard on making sure that it was somewhat personalized. We gave them opportunities for movement, lots of team building, tried to accentuate the district in a very positive, friendly, open manner, and I feel like that went pretty well. We did offer this year, as not in years past, a 1-hour mentor training as a requirement for the State Department of Ed. So the mentors came in for a 1-hour training, which we were glad to put that in place again. We hope to move into a more blended type model for that. So there were some people who couldn't attend, so they'll still be able to get that training. That will be something that we'll do in the spring in anticipation of new staff next year, so we don't have to get those mentors trained at the last minute. But it went really well. That's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you.
I wanted to highlight that this summer we had 9 new staff members who completed their Project Lead the Way training. These trainings ranged anywhere from 2 days for our 5 new elementary teachers who completed the Project Lead the Way launch, from 1 week to our 2 teachers from the middle school completing their training for Project Lead the Way Gateway, and then 2 weeks for our 2 high school teachers who got their additional certifications. So these are very intensive and immersive trainings that our teachers have come away with so much knowledge, and they're excited to implement their programs this school year.
The teachers started getting their supplies over the last week or so, and it's like Christmas came early for these teachers. They are thrilled to get the STEM curriculum into students' hands, and thank you for your continued support of bringing this curriculum to our STEM students.
Any questions for our teaching and learning team? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, early graduation request.
Good evening again. We had a family who, one of the parents is in the military, and there was a change in their circumstances given their service, and so they are requesting early graduation for their student so that she may join them before changes happen in their family. So you'll find that there, and we'll have an action item next time. I just wanted to share that these circumstances were such that they were not included in the first packet that you approved back in July or presented in June, and it was special circumstances. We're trying to accommodate our military families.
Thank you. Okay, special services, Ms. Reynolds.
My report this month focused on 3 things in special services. One being getting plans in place for our new students coming in for the beginning of the school year. We had, so far as of Friday, we have 28 new students on IEPs coming into our district, and we had 19 leave, which is an interesting little statistic. We'll get more within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Getting those plans in place and getting them set up. The second thing that we're working on is professional development for the school year. We looked at our draft strategic plan, and we want to support regular education as much as we possibly can. So we have some great professional development lined up for the entire school year for special education and regular education staff combined. Finally, early learning. Wow, we've been working a lot on early learning this last month, and it's been really fun, and I can't imagine all the things that I've learned in the last year actually about early learning. It's been a good experience, and we have a great principal on board, which is really exciting. You see before you in that report that Shanna actually created, and I'm just presenting to you. She couldn't be here this evening, but all of our early learners had applications that their parents or guardians filled out, and we have lots of data on that you can see. Based on that data, we have action plans for some things that we want to look at within this next year that we need to make sure that we do. Parents need help with developmental progression of their child, so we want to make sure that we're involving family events and parents as teachers in doing those home visits. We have a lot of students that are adopted or in foster care this year, and we want to start a support group for those families. We have a good amount of parents without high school diplomas and GED, so we would like to create plans for those families for those parents to get their diploma or GED, and we'll have conversations about that as well this year. There are the 2 things on our hearts right now are there's 17 children, 3-year-olds that are at risk that we don't have room for, we don't have slots for. We had that grant for 15 slots and they're full, and we have 17 more. So we're waiting for the other schools to see if they're going to use up all their slots, and maybe we can get some additional money from those slots in order to serve those children. And you see, I think it was earlier, I can't even remember now, but that we got our grant for the $160,000, and part of that grant was for an instructional coach, and part of it was for a social worker. And we have our social worker hired, and we're currently looking for an instructional coach that will fit our teachers and our needs for our Mathis Early Learning Center. We're in the process of that, and we'll see what happens, but we want to get the person that's the right fit for the Early Learning Center. On the very back page, page 3, you'll see some things that are happening, and we want to make sure and invite you to the sneak peek that's coming up on Thursday, I believe. Yeah, the 16th Thursday from 2:30 to 5:30. We'll have the sneak peek, and she's offering a parent orientation every half hour during that sneak peek, and there'll be an ice fundraiser, and there'll be a scavenger hunt for kids, and we'd like to make sure that you all know that you're invited to come, and we'd love to see you there. And the first day of preschool will be then the following Monday. We'll be ready for pickup and drop off and ready for the day. You guys have any questions about any of that?
Hey, Ms. Raines, one question regarding the 17 children that are at risk that we don't have funding to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it we do have space in
We
terms of
do.
a
We have
room.
one classroom that would be for space.
So we would need to be able to hire a teacher and.
Mm-hmm. We would. For sure would. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Golder.
Put Indian Creek on here just so you guys know that it's kind of like Rochester. It's not forgotten. We do still have to pick up after it when there's issues. Had some trees lose a few branches. Over at Logan, we are painting the gym. It's all in process. I think it looks a lot better now. Got some new mats on the walls and brightened it up a little bit.
Love it.
I think it's coming together. New lights, new heating and air. Showing you here, the field house was painted. For those of you who ever drive by and see that, help freshen it up a little bit. Here's some piping for the new HVAC systems, the heating and air inside the building. All these pipes go all over the place, and that's a distribution box basically up in the hallway.
That's what it looked like.
And then from there it goes up to the roof to the condenser. Anyway.
I will say something on that I think it might be unique to the public, for the public to appreciate. On our tour, we shared this too. This is our most advanced system in the district. It allows teachers, within limits, to control their own classrooms. Now, if you know how schools were built, and many still are built, it's a regional heating and cooling system. So one thermostat controls 4 teachers' classrooms, and none of them agree on what that thermostat should be. And so now teachers literally will control their own within the limits that are set by Mr. Golder. So that's a very state-of-the-art, room-by-room system.
It should make everybody happier.
Yeah.
Here they're craning off some of the rooftop units and the old ones. Also then installing the new ones. You can see the white, that's a TPO, that's a new roof covering that's on there. They're probably about, I'm going to say 90% done on that. They may not get 100% done this summer. But it's blue now, so they won't be noisy if they do work into the school year. Also let them know that if we let them work into the school year and there are any distractions, that we have to move either nights, weekends, or hold off until next summer. Here's the library. They had me a little nervous, but it came together really well at the end. A lot of books being moved and things right now. See the middle school, so right here behind this bleacher, the water always pooled up. There's really nowhere for it to go other than the track, the field, so we put a French drain in. Hopefully that'll help resolve some of the issues. Here, so one thing we found out, there's really no access to that field. You had to go clear to the south end, and or you had to get a couple folks to carry a person on with a wheelchair. So we had an ADA ramp installed. We're working on the railing right now, but that's going to make it a lot easier for everybody to get up and down. Over at Seaman High School, we've got the steel up for the softball batting cage. So now we're waiting on turf and netting. Inside the north gym at the high school, we've taken away all the old where the lights in there that buzzed and hummed and had a yellowish hue. We're all LED now. Instant on and no noise. Ditch flume should clean up that ditch just to the north of the soccer field. It always had water in it, cattails, etc. Nobody could mow it because it's always wet. So it should help take the water down to Rochester. And as well as sidewalk to soccer complex. It's new. The old one was kind of, if you guys were there, it was kind of heaving and tripping hazard. West Danilo, we moved the shed off of the playground, did some dirt work to hopefully fix up the erosional aspects. Right now, we're trying to get the grass to grow back, and it's been 110 degrees out there for quite some time, so we've been losing the battle, but we're still trying. Here we widened so in order to find a place for the shed, there were 2 recycle dumpsters out there. I don't know how familiar you guys are, but anyway, the initial brick enclosure here was only room for 1 dumpster. So now we've widened that, put a trash dumpster and a recycle dumpster in there, cleaned it up, got rid of the 2 that were out in parking lots, moved the shed just to by the side of that wall. Any questions for me?
Is that north gym quite a bit brighter, those LEDs? It's always so dingy.
Oh, it cleaned it up a lot. Yeah. Of course, new wax job on the floor and that nature. And we'll be discussing uniforms as an action item for custodial maintenance as well. Anything else?
All right, thank you. Don't forget the board tour, everybody, on Wednesday. You get to see you using the shiniest face. So, all days at Wednesday. Laurel.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. In my report, I put the web tickets down, and not a lot of them there, 22, but just for grins, I looked and we got 23 done today. So our slow time with web tickets is over now that the teachers and principals are back, so we'll take that up. In my report, I highlighted our online enrollment. We did have a little bit of a glitch. They oversold the product, but they worked hard at getting it resolved, and all in all, we processed a lot of it, and I've heard a lot of good things about how easy it was. They did make it look a lot nicer, so it went really well. We've already started handing out laptops at the high school, which always helps because we don't want them to come back that first day. We'll be handing them out at the middle school the first day, and then Mrs. Dietrich's plan is to have lessons for the 7th graders before they get their laptops this year. So it'll be a little different, and I think that it will be good. We're also in the middle of finishing up a tower for the buses. We installed a 50-foot tower just to one side of the bus barn, and that will house the receiving unit, so when the buses pull in the lot, they'll offload their video every night. So that whole project's coming around. A lot of things involved with that. So I think we'll be real happy with the final product when it's done. And if you have any questions for me? No? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kramer.
Great. So we are in the KISA process. KISA stands for Kansas Education Systems Accreditation. We went in last year in year 2, so we'll be starting year 3. Part of our requirements from our OBT visit this summer is to report to the board. So this is what I'm doing this evening. We had our visit in June. I don't remember that, I should. But we do have one of our things for this next year is to schedule an annual visit, and that will be April 4th. That is already scheduled. We also have the option of having an optional visit, and we did take advantage of that. However, it was scheduled for, I think, October, and our outside visiting team who does our accreditation had to cancel that. So we are not going to participate in the optional visit. We're just going to stick to the annual visit in the spring. Just want to briefly touch base. Okay, I'm working on it. You know I had trouble with this today. We all have areas for improvement. Okay, so I just want to remind you this is a systems approach. It's a 5-year cycle. We're moving into year 3. The district receives accreditation in this process. No longer are we doing building level accreditation systems as in the past. And then it's a 5-step growth model. So we do a needs assessment, which we did 2 years ago. Annie and Rod did that. A goal development, action plan development happened last year. Implementation, which is mainly what we're going to be focusing on this year. And then we reassess throughout this process to monitor growth and see if what we have in our plan is working. Just a reminder that when we build this plan, that these are all the stakeholders involved. So we have building level leadership teams, we have a district level leadership team, we have you guys, of course. We have school building site councils, and we also have a district site council in place. And then our OVT is our outside validation team who comes in to do our annual visits and give us feedback, and then also give us our accreditation. Remember that the 5 focal areas for KSDE, the 5 R's, relationships, relevance, responsive culture, rigor, and then results. We surveyed the staff and determined what our needs were, and we came up with the 2 areas 2 years ago to be rigor and relevance. We felt like we're doing really well in relationships and responsive culture, and so we really just are focusing on relevance and rigor. You can see for rigor, those are our goal areas for last year. And then moving into this year, we'll actually be implementing those deeper. Very much aligned to what our measurables are in our strategic plan, and then also where we are with MTSS, the multi-tiered system of supports, and how we provide interventions to kids. That's most of our rigor piece to make sure that we're keeping curriculum at the rate that the student needs. And then the second one is relevance. There are relevance goals. Again, very much aligned to our MTSS process and our PLCs and things that we already have in place. So I wanted to share real quick the OVT feedback. The celebrations are that the district has shown evidence of excellent success in those other 2 areas. They were proud of all the things that we shared out about that. Very happy with our implementation of MTSS structures, individual plans of study, career pathways, and family engagement. Very much impressed with our database decision making. Do like that we're pretty transparent about our data. We're openly sharing our data, looking at DIBELS, carry all those good scores. And then just that there's this overall culture of the district for ownership, collaboration, and they really value the community that we have. So they were really impressed. Okay. Our feedback or suggestions for improvement, they do want to see more quantitative data. We didn't share a lot of that in the spring. It wasn't part of the criteria for year 2, but we'll do that this year in year 3. They do want us to make sure that we're communicating with stakeholders. That was one of the goals that we set as a district. Also, we want to be more transparent, more things on the website, access to curricular type things, content standards, all that good stuff that's coming. They also want us to continue with our training and implementation of MTSS. All those project things that we've talked about, project-based learning, blended learning, all that personalized instruction stuff that we have in place. They wanted to see that come to fruition and continue growing in that area. And then, of course, lastly, they want us to improve our effective rate, which we all are aware of what that is, 44.3% for graduating students. That's all I got. Any questions?
Ms. Kramer, how many members make up that outside visitation?
That's a good question. Susan Danner is from TASN. She's our OVT chair. Team, help me. How many are there? Pat Foster from Oskaloosa is the elementary person. We have an early childhood rep. Stacy Mayberry. Who am I missing?
It's the behavior and math people. There's a behavior and a math person.
There's a math person, so what is that, 4 or 5 people? 4 of them are from TASN, and then we have Pat Foster, principal in Oskaloosa, who also resides on that team. You do have to go through a particular training. There's a list of OVT members. I'm actually on that list. I sit on a team for another district. Yeah.
Very good. Questions, Ms. Kramer? Thank you.
All right, great.
Okay, Dr. Noble?
Strategic plan update will be very brief. In that public content area, the narrative, you'll see the August 13th date today. We shared it with the staff. First unveiling was today. Board meeting tonight. We have on August the 18th, Saturday morning, we have 39 folks that have confirmed their attendance, many of which, about half of which or more, will be non-staff patrons of our district that are coming for a coffee and donuts and fruit discussion, much like the board just had on July, I think July the 11th was the date that we had that. With the board, we're going to do the same exercise with the patrons and the members of our committees that have been assigned at the various district levels, some of which Rebecca just shared with you, those committees that these people serve on. So they're going to get a deeper look at our strategic plan, be able to ask questions, be able to have dialogue with directors that are in attendance. And then on September the 10th, after the revisions are put in place, we would like to bring that plan back for consideration and board approval on September the 10th. So that's the timeline that we're on. We're Learning Without Limits 2.0. Questions for me? Okay.
Good evening. My narrative about the potential change to the district credit card program lays out the case for why I think we need to look into doing that. So I'm not going to go any further with that. One thing I would say is I do think we're I'm going to add a little bit of a stopping point. I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. I didn't want to proceed with this if someone had concerns about expanding the credit card program. Right now, there's 5 people in the district who carry a credit card. I believe we can expand that to include the principal of each building, possibly the secondary buildings have a second card. All or most of the directors would have a credit card. We're probably looking at maybe going from 5 to somewhere around 20 to 25. And then we also currently have a separate fleet program. That really has kind of got this whole ball rolling. We really started having trouble with those and staff getting 200 miles away, the card wouldn't work. So I'd really like to roll all that into one plan that works better for our staff. Hopefully we can rack up enough transactions and dollar amount that we can improve our rebates. And so I think now's the time to do that. It's kind of been on the radar for a while, but now I think it's the time to go. I just wanted to make sure there were no concerns from you before I pursue that.
See you then.
Okay, thank you.
Student transfer protocols, we go through an extensive transfer process with students both in the district and out of district. In-district transfers are students that are attending one attendance center area but requesting to attend an elementary school out of their attendance, and then out of district transfers, of course, for students that live outside of our boundaries that are wanting to attend these same schools. So I've attached the 2 documents here, both the application process itself, which gathers the basic data on those transfers, and then the second one, the statement of understanding, is the agreement that the families make with us, and you can read through those. I won't read those for you. There are 8 steps in that agreement process that matches board policy on in-district and out-of-district transfers, and you can see that piece there. I don't have the transfer numbers in front of me. After enrollment, we've counted all of our students and kids are here. We've sort of settled in. We'll give the board an enrollment update on in-district and out-of-district transfers along with our total enrollment. Once those numbers solidify a bit. Questions for me on the process? Okay.
See you. Hey, action item. Oh no, yeah, 8K, neighborhood revitalization.
This plan was moved to discussion. It was under the understanding that they might be asking for action from our board. That is not the case yet. The city council heard today from folks in that office in the planning department that they will have it before the city council in their October agenda. They meet on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Tuesdays of the month. So sometime during that time, they likely will have it on their agenda for approval of the revised plan. Once that's approved at the city level, they take it back to the other boards for their approval. And so it likely won't come back before this board until November, at the earliest, possibly December, by the time they get the agreement drawn up for us to consider and vote on. So that's where we're at with that.
Also, board members, if you noticed in Schoology, there was a document pertaining to this, Dr. Nobles.
Supporting documentation on some of the things, and I've brought that with me if there's anybody that wants to know kind of where we're at with that. Board members have this, so glad to entertain any questions when you have them now or in the future. Mr. Horton.
One bid this evening, and that is to provide shirts to our custodial and maintenance staff members. That'd be 44 staff members who would receive 11 shirts each. The district would pay for the laundering of those shirts. The agreement is with a company called UniFirst. It was bid out through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Group, so it's on a group contract. It's all been pre-bid. The annual cost of the district is $5,072.08, and we are asking to enter into a 5-year agreement at that amount.
So is that a cost savings for having a multi-year agreement then?
Jason ran the numbers on that, so I'm gonna.
Well, it was called NFJPA or something like that before Sourcewell, and basically, it has to go 5 years for them to even make anything on us, because they are super low. I checked into the other uniform companies and they were double and almost triple. And having it leased like this, if there's any kind of snag or anything, they will be repaired as well. So instead of buying them outright, if we were to buy them outright, then if they're ruined, you gotta buy another one. In this case here, they'll get replaced, as long as it's not like intentionally done, maliciously done.
This is not intended for the bus board and stuff?
No, sir.
It gets basically the folks that are in the buildings. So it will get 2 food service folks that deliver to the buildings, as well as the custodians that are in the buildings, and the maintenance folks. It's a little different type of or style of shirt, but it'll help.
What will be on the shirts in terms of embroidery or whatever?
Just basically say USD 345 facilities. We're looking at a polo style polyester, giving them 2 color choices. Just kind of a navy and a I don't know if maroon's the right term, but a maroonish color. They were pretty nice looking.
They're required to wear them.
They will be. The one thing that would basically to let them not is to participate in whatever event the school's having, such as pajama day. It allows them to be a part of the building.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept the bid from Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Group for the annual cost of the district of $5,072.08 for a 5-year agreement.
Second.
Moved by Sherry, seconded by Christie. Any other discussion on this? Calling for the vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Bob. Jason?
Try good much.
Okay, KSB policy updates, Dr. Noble.
Policy updates are here for you to consider now. They were on your agenda last month for discussion. Again, we reviewed these as directors. The biggest significant thing you may notice as a board is that we will be providing you monthly petty cash reports, and Bob and I will work through with you all, board president, with what exactly information you want from those petty cash reports, but that's part of the new statute or part of the new requirement in board policy. The others are more language changes, but nothing significant in policy. Some statutory requirements were added to meet state laws that changed, but other than that, it was just the petty cash thing that we noticed today as being, as we reviewed it one more time, the most significant change that may affect the board and the reports that we receive. So, questions for us on policy? Other than that,
So make a motion to approve the KSB policy updates as presented.
Motion by Keith, second by Carl. Any other discussion on that item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Policy updates are approved. Okay, negotiations.
Yes, sir. Very happy to report a tentative agreement was reached on July 31st. The total package, 6.8%, 6% of which is salary, 8% is health insurance. So for the teachers, part of that, 6% looks like $2,000. First of all, step and lateral movement and placement of new staff members in the salary schedule. An additional $2,000 in each cell of the salary schedule. So that's, and then the folks that are frozen in the upper right-hand corner, that's column MA plus 45, step Z. Those staff members will also receive an additional $1,000. As far as the health insurance part of it goes, that's the other 0.8%. The district contribution will increase from $350 a month to $400 a month. Also happy to report that our Blue Cross Blue Shield rates dropped by about 8% average. It's a little better drop in the more traditional, the three traditional, I guess I would call them, policies that have $500,000, $1,000, and $1,500 deductible. It's the high deductible plan doesn't have quite as big of a decrease. It's more like about 3%. But still, the combination of increasing the district contribution by 50 and seeing the premiums drop by 8%, we've got staff members who are going to see a health savings premium relief of over $2,000 if they're in a family plan and paying for a fairly high deductible. So it's really nice to see some relief from health insurance rates. There are also some changes to language in the areas of summer pay, military leave, discretionary sick leave buyback, national board certification pay, inclement weather, and the evaluation procedures. The teachers will vote in their buildings, I believe, in the next few days. We are very hopeful, should the teachers ratify the agreement, that we can bring it to you for your approval on Friday. And also a reminder, on Friday we do have our budget hearing special meeting at 11 o'clock here Friday morning. So would entertain any questions you have about that. Oh, but first too, I'd also like to thank Mr. Henderson and Mr. McNorton for being on the negotiations team. No small task. They both bring a presence and a demeanor that Dennis and I truly appreciate. So I just wanted to publicly thank Frank and Carl for their work on that. It certainly didn't go unnoticed. Any questions that I can answer for you? If not, hopefully we'll be back Friday asking you to approve the agreement. And then we'll also have the numbers on how the numbers work through the classified salary schedule, and then classified salary schedule, and then also the administrative salary schedule.
Okay, well, I want to thank Mr. Horton and Mr. Pearmoon both for their work on this, because they put many hours into this, and as well as Mr. McNorton making this work, and also our Seaman Education Association for their team of coming to the table. And I think we have a result, an outcome that we all can be very proud of. And I shared with Dr. Nolan, it was earlier today, we were discussing this, and I indicated how when we take our education team and our Board of Education, the district, and we're involved in negotiations, how we can have a successful outcome when we both have mutual respect for each other, and recognize that we both have the value that needs to be considered. And this is one of the best packages that we've been able to offer in many, many, many years. And so I'm very pleased to be able to offer this. Our teachers are very deserving. They have gone a long period of time without a significant raise, and so this just really is a good package. Very pleased with it. Thank you. Okay. That is the last item on our agenda. Meeting is adjourned.